ladder predictions. How about you go through them for us?
Alright, so we go from bottom, we go with North Melbourne at 18th. We go West Coast with surprisingly 3 wins in 17th. Richmond 16th, 15th in Essendon, 14th in Fremantle. Hawthorn 13th, St Kilda 12th, Melbourne 11th, Gold Coast 10th, the Bulldogs 9th. Then we get into the top 8. We go the Swans at 8, Geelong at 7, 6 is the Giants, 5th is Port Adelaide. Then the top 4, we go with Brisbane at 4, 3 is the Crows, 2 is Collingwood, and I've got the Blues finishing top. Surprisingly, I don't. Yeah.
All right. So, go through your talk. So, what team have you started off with to discuss?
We'll go with the Crows. We'll go alphabetical order, I reckon. We'll start with that. Yeah. So I looked at the Crows' draw. I think, like you said, most of their home games they'll win. They will win all of their home games. I reckon I'll put them there. Yes. The only game that they won't win, I think, is the second showdown when Port Adelaide host the showdown. I think Port Adelaide will win that second showdown, but I think they'll win 12 of their 13 home games, which you can pretty much bank them to do because they have such a good home crowd. The ones away that they still, in my opinion, is going to be their struggle because it was their struggle and you still can't really trust them to win away. So
that will depend, obviously, when we look at them at the start of the season.
Yeah.
If they have a good start to the season away from home as well, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they've got a couple good teams away, like some really shit teams in a way, that don't really do anything. Like, they've got Gold Coast round 1 away. They should win that, you'd think. They've got Freo away round 3. I think they should win that. They've got North Melbourne down in Tasmania. I think they'll win that as well. So I think they're going to win a few more games away. And like they've got then Hawthorn away. They'll win that. That's 4 already. So a lot of their away games this season against the really low ranked teams.
Yeah.
And I think they can win. If they don't really over anticipate, we should win that. And have that mentality, they should win them.
Yeah.
But, so that's why I don't think they're going to... I think they're going to have a bit of a different season, that they're going to win those games away. They'll win all their home games, and they'll end up with about 4 losses.
And you've got them finishing 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is surprising as a Port supporter.
Yeah, no, gritting your teeth.
Yeah. Then we'll go to Carlton, like you did.
You've got them finishing top.
Yeah, I've got them finishing top. I don't think a lot of people want to hear that, especially Collingwood supporters.
Yeah.
What are their 2 losses I've got for the year? I think they'll lose opening round against Brisbane at the Gabba, because no one beats Brisbane at the Gabba.
Yeah.
And
they got a 21 win streak.
They'll lose to, I think, who was the other one?
So you've got them on a huge run of wins, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. They'll lose. Oh, there you go. Collingwood round 21.
So you've got them. I got them losing that one as well.
Yeah. So
basically, you're saying they're going to go on a 19-game win streak, lose that game.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I actually do. I think that I've looked at their fixture. Like some of the games, like the games, the harder games they play. Like, even Sydney in round 10, I think they'll be a close game, but I still think Carlton will win. I just don't think that this... they're just... I think that the mentality is good at the moment. If they can get their players playing well, and as long as they don't get any injuries, I think is their thing for Carlton.
You think they've got the list to compete this year?
I do, yeah, I actually do. And I think...
if they can get Mackay to fire on as well, that's definitely going to be another talking point. But yeah, you've got them winning 21 games out of the 23. So who else have you got there?
We'll go Gold Coast because everyone's talking about it, so why not keep going with it?
Yeah.
I've got them missing. I still can't trust them. I don't care what you can change your coaching style. You can change it all. I still can't trust that team to make finals.
Yeah.
You can't. They've got a lot of games that they could... But obviously, they have one of the easiest fixtures this season. So, But some of the games like the Crows in technically round 1, whatever you want to call it, they'll lose that, and some of the you just can't really trust them in my opinion. And
the question is, can they make their home ground a fortress as well? Yeah. We've never seen that from the Suns. If they can start winning their games at home, because that's what that's kind of the trend we're going with here, especially with the interstate teams, with like the Crows or the Swans or whatever. Is like, if they can win their games at home, how many more games do they need to win away?
Yeah.
So with the Gold Coast, for example, they need to start making their home ground a fortress.
Yeah.
Because they should be able to. Like, Brisbane have been able to make their home ground one of the most hardest teams to beat. I think they're the hardest team to beat on their home deck. Even though the Crows are up there, I think they're second best. They are the hardest team to beat on their home deck is the Lions.
Yeah.
And the Suns need to start bringing that, or else they'll never be competitive enough, because they're never really... The Queensland teams are never really known to be a good team, even like in the glory days. Probably not the best away from home.
No. Yeah.
So the Gold Coast need to start making that place a fortress. So I get that. You had them finishing, 10th or 11th, I think, wasn't it?
10th, yeah.
10th. So pretty close. That would be their highest finish, I think.
At the I'll have them a game and percentage out of the 8. So they're not, but again, they'll be close, but not there.
Yeah.
Again, I believe. And would you say it's a wasted season again? Probably. Well, I would. I'll be saying it's a wasted season.
I think we'll have to see how Damien Hardwick's coaching. I think this is going to be an interesting one with like Damien Hardwick, because if they don't make the finals, but their game plan has changed and it's looking a lot better, and it's looking like something that can compete. Like, if he can bring that like Richmond mentality that they had through those glory years, if he can bring that mentality to the Suns, and they start to change their way of playing, like, they've got their like small forwards being really high pressure, their midfield, playing really well, their defence being one of the best in the comp, which it can be, but they just can't, that polish isn't there for the season, then I'll give them another year. But if it's the same stuff, of them, finally looking like they could be a team, like we saw throughout the year, throughout 2023, we finally thought the Gold Coast could actually do it. They could make the finals. And then they came up against, I think it was Collingwood. It was one of the big marquee games. They thought the Gold Coast, this is their moment, and they got beaten by 80 points.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about the Suns. If they don't make the finals, it's not the worst thing in the world, but there has to be a big change. They have to be winning these marquee games. They can't just be battering the teams that are below them. They need to actually be because can you actually... I can't remember many times when the Gold Coast have beaten a big team above them.
Not many times.
I honestly can't think of it. When has there been a time when the Suns have won an upset win? Not many times. They can beat teams around them, and they beat teams below them. But they never maybe they've beaten the Swans a few times. That's probably the big big talking point.
Richmond a few times, but that was also when last couple of seasons when they went down in a way. It's
they didn't beat Richmond very many times when they were in that 4-year period between 2017 and 2020. They weren't beating them then.
No.
So that's another thing for the Suns. Can they actually bank some big wins against some big teams?
Yeah.
When do they beat Collingwood? Not very often in those big years. No. Haven't been able to do it. They beat Brisbane last year. That's a good point. They did beat Brisbane, but that was the first time in 5-6 years they did it.
Oh, I think about 6-7 years.
The Q Clash wasn't even regarded as a rivalry, because the Brisbane Lions would just beat up on them every year. So yeah, have you got any more teams to take a look at?
Yeah, we'll go with Richmond. Everyone's talking about how they're probably in the bottom 4.
Yeah,
they've got 13 games at the MCG this season.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games away out of Melbourne.
So they've got what? Bunch of games at Docklands as well.
So 8, and then the rest are at Docklands.
And one of them's got the round away as well.
Yeah. So the first one's the opening round as well, which is away. So technically they got
after round 5. So after round 4,
they got 3
games away from Melbourne.
And the thing is that they used to make the MCG an absolute fortress, and they can't do it anymore because of the personnel they've got. Yeah,
they had a good run.
They had a good run. We're not going to deny that shit.
Yeah.
I've only got them to win 4 games this season.
Yeah.
And Where we got what? One's against West Coast.
Big win.
One's against. They'll win Dreamtime, I think, this year against Essendon.
Yeah.
They'll beat North Melbourne at Docklands.
Another huge win. Oh well,
but it's not a home game.
It's
not a home game, but it's at Docklands. All right, and there was one more, but and I think they beat Hawthorn at the MCG late in the season.
Okay.
So that's the 4 wins they get, and to be honest, they could, like I said, those 4 games, the one against North Melbourne at Docklands and the Hawthorn game at the MCG, they could actually lose those.
Well, they never got a good record at Docklands. I think they've lost they've lost like 9 of their last games there or something.
Yeah.
So they haven't won. I think they drew one against Freo a couple of years ago. But yeah, they don't have a good record at Docklands, and the fact that they only leave Victoria 5 times, and after round 4 it is 3 times for the rest of the season is astounding. They should be doing something.
Well, no, but you look at it. So yeah, opening round Gold Coast, round 4 Norwood Oval, round 5 is Perth Stadium, and then it's what?
So from round 6 to round 24.
Yeah. So then they play the Gabba round 10, Perth Stadium round 17, and Adelaide Oval round 19. Oh no, 6 games. 6 games out of Adelaide, out of Melbourne.
Okay. And 2 of them are to Adelaide. And 2
so
of them
yeah, so 3 of them are in the first 6 rounds, and then 3 after that.
Yeah.
It's like they have a good run. They have a good run in Melbourne.
Yeah. So you would be thinking that they would be a genuine. They could be a genuine team to maybe scrape the 8, but you just don't trust the team anymore.
No.
They've got some top. They've got a lot of experienced players. They've got a lot of young players. They've got none really in the middle.
And they don't have a lot of... Yeah, and that's
they don't have a lot
why
of depth.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you have the experience, but if they get injured...
Or they're not performing either.
Yeah.
That's another thing, because last year, Dustin Martin was really the only... Dustin Martin, Taranto, were really the only 2 shining lights.
And Shea Bolton.
But even then, he was pretty on and off.
He came up late in the season, but... Yeah.
Do you have any information regarding Melbourne finishing 11th? Can you bring that up quickly? Because I've got to talk about that, because I think that's one of the big ones that people will be talking about. Because that's basically the team that you've got plummeting.
Yeah, I do actually.
So you've got Melbourne plummeting to 11th position.
So yeah, I've looked at... Yeah, well, everyone was probably shocked that I saw Melbourne in the bottom 10 at probably 11th. So it's a huge decline of what they have. And I still believe that their off-season antics is going to hurt them in the season with what they've got. But their fixture is pretty tough to begin with. Like, they've got the Swans, Bulldogs, Hawthorn, Port Adelaide, and the Crows in the first 5 rounds. That's half the gather round.
And then Brisbane.
And then Brisbane after that, before they have their bye because they played opening round.
Yeah.
So that's a tough run. Like, they could lose to Hawthorn in round 3, round 2, whatever you want to call it. So they could be, I believe they could be none and 6.
Yeah, if they lose to the Bulldogs and Hawthorn.
They could be none and 6 if they lose to the Bulldogs and Hawthorn.
Yeah. And they could also be 2. I mean, not best case scenario, but to be 2 and 4 going into that little bye.
It's like they could have a shit start to the season, and with Simon Goodwin already having so much pressure on him, he would be oh my god, I couldn't. He would be worse than Michael Voss last season for Carlton.
Yeah,
the amount of pressure he's got.
Yeah, considering they've lost their last 4 finals.
Yeah,
they don't have. They've got a lot of off-field antics over the off-season, which they've had for a while now. I mean, obviously they had the Stephen May Melksham stuff the mid of 2022. They've had obviously
the Simon Goodwin drug scandal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and then the Clayton Oliver stuff throughout the season, going into the off season as well. They've had a lot of stuff going on off the field.
Yeah, and
their on-field performances throughout the home and away season have been pretty good. But then when they've hit finals, they've just dropped off.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they almost beat Carlton. I mean, if they did, no one would be talking about it. They'd been in a prelim final.
Yeah.
But
So after that first bye, whatever you want to call it, they do get an easier run, but you've also got teams like Geelong, St Kilda, Freo, who they don't really play well against the last couple of times.
Yeah, even in Victoria.
And then Collingwood, really before their bye. They've got obviously some other big teams that they should win. Like, they should win, obviously. They should beat West Coast.
Yeah.
But sometimes they could, to be honest, they could only have 2 wins before their official bye in round 14 after Queen's birthday. They could only have 2-3 wins
Yeah.
if they're not careful with their run.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a little being a bit harsh on them, but the reality is they could be 2 and what?
2-12, 2-10,
2-10, 2-12,
Yeah.
11.
Yeah,
That's not a good look.
Yeah.
That's not a good look for a team that's really.
They should be competing for
Yeah.
finals. Yeah,
But-
considering they got the best lineup of defenders in the comp, and then one of the best midfield lineups in the comp as well, and one of the best ruckmen as well.
To be honest, their run home's pretty good. Like after that bye, they'll play Brisbane at the Gabba. Freo at Optus. And Collingwood to finish the season.
So 3 games that you don't really expect them to win.
Yeah, you don't really expect them to win. Either other way, they could win. They could go either way.
Yeah.
But this season to start is really tough, I think. And with all the scrutiny that still really hasn't been resolved with Clayton Oliver's stuff, it could go into the season.
Yeah.
And they could have a really tough start. And
like we've been talking about throughout this whole sequence of talking about the ladder predictor, the momentum's going to mean a lot for teams. So if your momentum's really low at the start of the season, it's very hard to claw your way back.
yeah, exactly.
And then even if that's the case, if you do somehow claw your way back, we've seen teams be so puffed out or so exhausted from that push to basically every single game from round 12, 13, 14 being an elimination final, that when you actually do somehow scrape into it, you just get flogged.
Yeah.
We've seen that a couple of years ago with the Swans, and Essendon a couple of years ago against the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They got smashed. So those are the sort of things that can happen. And basically, I think we even talked about it last week with the pass marks. Melbourne need to be making, prelim semi-final, really.
Yeah.
They need to be winning finals. And for you, I have them outside the top 4. You have them outside the 8, which is a big drop-off. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's a big drop-off. So that's some big, ladder prediction sort of stuff. I think that mine's correct.
Okay. Says the Swan supporter who gave them wins against teams I don't think they'll beat in Adelaide and Collingwood late in the season.
Yeah, well, their game against the Crows is that at Sydney.
Yeah, well, they don't. Yeah, but we'll listen to the fans instead of the umpires, isn't it?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Alright.
But yeah, it might be too harsh on them, but you just don't know what this.
Oh, it's your predictions.
Yeah, off-field antics, and I might be the only one in the entire country that has Melbourne lower than at 11.
Yeah.
But I might not be, and
I think there'd be a
I'll
few
be-
people
I'll be-
around
I'll be
really
laughing.
questioning. I think there's a few people probably questioning Melbourne this year.
Yeah.
To be fair, they should be a team in the top 4. If they had a kick forward to kick to, they would be. So I think that's not a bad thing to say. I think that was the biggest surprise that they were down in 11th for me, looking at it. But, looking at the reasoning why, I can see why you've put them there. But yeah, if you guys have some information, if you guys want to let us know what you guys think of your ladder predictions, if you're doing them, go to the Squiggle website. It's SQUIGGLE. Go there. You can do your ladder predictions. Post them. See what you're thinking. See if any of them resemble ours at all. They could be completely different. That's completely up to you. If you let us know about our ladder predictions, if you have any sort of differing opinions, or you think we're kind of correct, then let us know.